what seems normal now has a history, and that's what we're trying to illuminate. I'm Anna Bigelow, and I am an assistant professor of religious studies specializing in Islam. I've been doing research for a long time on shared sacred sites, places that Muslims and non-Muslims attend together and pray and worship at together. Not only Muslims, but also Hindus, Sikhs, and really people of all faiths come together in this single place, where there's a narrative of the past that they can construct in the present that has space for this and precedent for this kind of exchange. How people construct their identities around peace or around conflict. The conflicts or the histories of conflict or the histories of peace may or may not actually have a foundation in the so-called actual past, but how it's remembered and how it's performed and how it's articulated in the present is really what matters in terms of whether or not the community can use these histories as a resource to establish peace in the present. Every religion has within it the resources that can be used for one purpose or another. I'm currently working on a new project that's funded by the Carnegie Corporation of New York, and I've also received support from CHASS and from NC State for this project that is going to be comparing shared sacred places in India, in Turkey, and also in the Middle East. I try to give a lot of examples from my own experiences traveling around the world. I've been in India, to Yemen and Turkey and the Middle East, Israel and the Palestinian territories, to Egypt, to Jordan. So those experiences really have helped me to ground what might seem very theoretical or very textbook to students, for them to get to see the much richer, broader spectrum of Muslim life and culture through my classes is one of the greatest opportunities that I could have at NC State. I really wanted to come to NC State because I wanted to be at a state university. I wanted to be at a public university. I think it's very important to give back to the community in a way. I'm surrounded by universities and graduate students and other faculty who work in my area, so there's a lot of collaboration in the Triangle to prepare students for all kinds of careers in foreign service and development policy, or working in global medicine issues and public policy. We have a colloquium series where faculty exchange their research with colleagues at UNC and Duke, and that's been a great opportunity. Those collaborations are quite strong across the Triangle, which is also one of the appealing things about working in a place like this. I teach a number of classes here. I teach a class on the Introduction to Islam. I also teach the classes on Islamic history, both early and modern, and a course on religion and conflict. Teaching particularly the Introduction to Islam class will bring in quite a mix of students, from very committed Christians to very committed Muslims, to people who've served overseas in the military in some form, to people returning to school after some time. I think I really hope that my students will leave my classes with a sense of the humanity of Muslims and Muslim cultures, rather than attributing a certain view or a certain attitude to Islam as some kind of a monolithic faith that has no variation, that there's one acceptable view of some kind of issue. I think that it's important for students to not generalize about anything. Religious studies is a very different discipline from theology. It's not prescriptive. We're not trying to determine how anybody should practice the faith. We are historians and anthropologists and political scientists, and all of these disciplines are a part and parcel of religious studies. In fact, when we start to think about why things are the way they are, there's not that much that's really given about that process that's created the culture that we inhabit. How does that happen? What makes that possible? Having that exposure, I think, humanizes what can sometimes seem like something very different and very other, and so people start to see how familiar, in fact, the traditions are, and how normal some of the things that people do are in a very daily way. There's actually a saying in anthropology that one of the purposes of the study of human cultures is to make the strange familiar and the familiar seem strange. You see that the threads of human history have a lot in common, whether you're in Iraq, India, or Clinton, so let alone Raleigh. So.